Tracey L. Fisher. Welcome to a Reentry Point of View. And today my guest is Judge Vincent Melchiorre. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Tracy. Thank you for having me on your show. It's my honor.
Thank you for coming. Listen, I get straight to it. Tell my audience who you are, what you're running for, and why they should vote for you.
My name is Judge Vincent Melchiorre. I am an appointed judge in the Court of Common Pleas Court. I was born and raised in South Philadelphia, where I still live, and I am very active in my community since I'm a teenager. It wasn't an easy road for me. Back in the 60s when I was in grade school, they didn't have diagnosis for dyslexia and ADHD and all that other stuff. So I found out later in life I'm dyslexic, and by that time I had flunked 4th grade and got kicked out of 2 grade schools, and it was a struggle. I never really thought I was going to go to college in the first place. When I went to Newman, Bishop Newman, he was only a bishop when I went there, 2 things happened. The first, it was an all-boys school, and there were no little girls to distract me, so being an Italian young man, that was always a distraction. And the second thing was a young guy moved from New York to Philadelphia and started a karate club. I was his first student, and that taught me how to focus. And I realized when I went to class, if I actually paid attention, my skill was I could remember everything the teacher said. So I started doing really well. And my mother, who's first-generation Italian, said to me, "You're going to be the first college kid in this family." And I said, "No, Mom, I want to go to Bach and be a carpenter." And I don't know how she knew it, because she never went to college, but she said to me, "You need 2 years of a language in a row to go to college. And I'm not going to sign the papers to let you go to Bach until you do that." Well, my mom's 81 years old, and I hug her every day for making that decision, because she was right. I did go to Bach. I found it interesting as a hobby, but I realized it wasn't my life's calling, and that's how I wound up taking this path.
Wow.
I started teaching in my community in South Philadelphia for the Red Cross when I was 17 years old. I thought, since God gave me the ability to excel, even though I struggled, that I had an obligation to give back. And then, because the martial arts did so much for me in helping me realize that, for the last 43 years I have taught for free in South Philly, and I continue to teach at 7th and Oregon to this day to help the children get off the street, have a place to go, and be productive members of society. As a result of my interest in the law, I took a job in a law office when I was 19 years old, the Lieutenant Governor's father, Stacking Gallagher, and I started working for the secretaries. I ran papers to City Hall, and I learned how to get things filed the right way. Back in those days, you had to pull big docket books. They hand-wrote everything. There were no computers. And when I dropped my docket book in front of the clerk, they were nice enough to let me leave, and then I would go sit in courtrooms. And I would watch the prosecutors and the defense, but more so I would watch the judge. And I'd look up there and say, wow, maybe one day I can do that. Maybe one day I'll have the skills. But I'm still insecure about my ability to read and write, because I'm still having to overcome that to go to law school. I took my SATs 3 times, my LSAT 3 times, and the bar twice. And I know one thing. I've never been beat in a courtroom by someone that passed the first time. It takes effort, and it takes work, and you have to have that drive and determination. My goal has always been to give back. So when I graduated law school, I had already been working in a law office for 6.5 years. I decided to go on my own and to pick the clients that I wanted so that I could help people and not take assignments from somebody else as to who I should represent. And it was scary, because my wife and I got married right after college, and we bought a little house back in '79 when the mortgage interest rate was 18%. So we had no money. We couldn't go anywhere. And my wife said to me when I graduated, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, we don't have any children yet. We can't get any poorer than we are right now, so I might as well start my own practice." And the way that started was me and 2 other lawyers. We shared one office because we couldn't afford one by ourselves. And every time one of our clients came in, we ran around and changed the plaques on the wall so it looked like it was our office. But, that's what you have to do when you want to succeed. You have to learn how to get around the obstacles in front of you.
We call that fake it till you make it.
That's it. So,
absolutely.
But I worked every day. I worked Saturday, Sunday in the beginning. I thought if I didn't show up for work, it would close. And I did that for 6 years until I got sick and exhausted, and then I realized you have to take some time off.
Right.
But in addition to my practice, I was a clerk in the courts for over 18 years and a lawyer at the Philadelphia Federal Credit Union. I worked my way up all their committees to the board of directors, and then when we started incorporating wholly owned subsidiaries, I became general counsel to that. So I actually had
The
three.
Philadelphia Credit Union?
Philadelphia
That's a
Federal
billion-dollar
Credit
credit union.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
So I did a lot of the regulation and compliance for their wholly owned subsidiary while I run a 5-member firm and a law clerk in accordance. I was appointed by Governor Corbett in 2014, and I lost when I ran in 2015 by a little bit. And then I was reappointed by Governor Wolf. I've been on the bench in the criminal division for 2.5 years now. And I really work to do what's right under the Constitution and for the citizens of Philadelphia. And the way I see that is, the way the system seems to be now is it's all about warehousing people. And I don't agree with that at all. In my room, I read every file. I am prepared every day, and we open up 9 o'clock every day. Because everyone's subpoenaed to be there at 9, the judge should be there at 9. And I read every single file. And I have found, in the 2.5 years that I've been on the bench, and the 31 years I was in practice, rehabilitation is so much better for our society and our community than incarceration. It doesn't mean there aren't people that shouldn't go to jail. There are. There are some pretty bad people out there, but they're in the minority compared to most of the cases that I see. We have people that are addicted to drugs and opioids, and we have many people that have mental health issues. And I take the time to read every file and work a plan out. So when I work out a plan, say, in a mental health issue, there have been 3 defendants that I've had to commit. I was one of the first judges to ask to go to the prison to see the mental health unit. Usually they come to the CJC. I wanted to know, where am I sending these people and what kind of treatment are they getting? And I'll tell you one quick story. I had a woman in 2014 that had 36 arrests and 23 convictions for petty theft. And I'm looking at her file and there's nothing. And I know there has to be more to this story than just her chronic willingness to want to steal. So before I sentenced her, I had to find her guilty because she was, but before I sentenced her, I had her have a mental health evaluation. And part of my program in the mental health is not only do you have to stay in treatment, but you're required to be tested to make sure you're taking your medication. Because I used to do clients in Byberry when that was open years ago, and when they feel better, they stop taking their medication and they go back to the same problems that led to that. And then I make them come see me in the beginning every 2 weeks, and then every month, and then every 2 months as they get better. Well, that woman came to see me January of 2017, and she said, "Judge, I want you to know something. Because you took the time to do what you did, I've completed 2 years of college, I'm engaged to be married, and I bought a house." And that's the things that judges should do. We should look to make tax-paying citizens. We should look to find ways when people come out. When I put young men in drug treatment programs, I tell them, if you can't get your lawyer and you can't get your probation officer, I give them my office card and say, call me. I would rather help you than punish you. It's all about help. I have 3 of my own children. I've been with my wife 41 years. I'm married next month, 37, which I'm very proud of. But I also have a foster son, Marcel. I have been a volunteer child advocate. I represented abused children in DHS for free. And I met Marcel when he was 15 years old. And we just clicked. And he's 22 years old now. And about 3 weeks ago, we worked together, and now he's in the Job Corps up above the Pocono Mountains. And he's getting a skill. And I can't emphasize enough the resources that are being wasted. We have a Job Corps in South Philadelphia in the old Quartermasters at 20th and Oregon. I go to the gym in the morning, and the woman that runs it is there. She just passed out flyers. There's 100 openings right now. They're sitting there empty. That young men and women between the ages of 18 and 26, I believe it is, could take advantage of that. They train you. They give you a stipend. They give you a skill, and they make sure you have your high school diploma or a GED. They get you your driver's license. So for Marcel, we decided it would be better for him to get out of the city for a while instead of hanging around the same areas while he's trying to do all this. But he calls me every night, and he tells me what's going on, and it's just wonderful. And it's kind of like cheating, because you get to feel so good about helping someone else that all they wanted was to know someone cares.
Absolutely.
Marcel never knew his dad, and his mom has a terrible problem with drugs, so that's why he was in the DHS system. And it's an honor for me to be able to do things for him. But more back to what I do in my courtroom. I always look to see what's the root problem of any defendant. Some defendants are receptive. there are just some people that are not. You know, I was very fortunate when I was raised, my parents taught me there's only two kinds of people in this world, good and bad. And some good people need help, and some bad people don't want help. And they're the few that should be incarcerated. The other problem I see on the bench is this outrageous bail system that we have. We have cash bail, which keeps people in prison sometimes longer than they would be had they been convicted of the crime they're charged with, the crime that they're charged with. Right now, we have about 70% of our prison population that's pre-trial detention, meaning that they're sitting in jail charged with crimes they've never been convicted of. So a couple weeks ago, I had a young man that came in front of me who's been sitting on $75,000 bail for selling marijuana. 9 months is probably longer than he would have got had he been convicted. And I didn't understand why. So I had him sign his own bail. He had a wife and 3 kids and he was working. He was trying to supplement his income, and granted, that's still illegal and that's not the way to do it, but he should have signed his own bail in the beginning so he could work. Most defendants actually appear in court. The people that should be on bail are the people that are a risk to flee and a danger to our society. Pedophiles, murderers, women abusers, any type of that stuff. They're the people that are a danger, and they should be isolated. But we have so many people, working people, good people, union people, that become addicted either because they get hurt, and I hate to say this, but it seems to me today doctors write scripts for opioids like they're candy. And people don't understand the risk of addiction. And by the time their injury's better, now they're addicted and they go to the street because they can't get a script.
Exactly.
And they're good people that come before us that don't deserve to be in prison. They deserve to have help. And that's what I think a good judge should do. A good judge serves the city and the citizens of Philadelphia under the confines of the Constitution and the law. You have to have the ability to know what the Constitution and the law say, but you need to have the street sense to understand if it's a good guy having a bad day or a bad guy who's just continuing to prey. And that's what I do my best to do.
It's called that legal balance. When you have the political,
street smarts.
The street smarts, and when you have your court smarts, and you understand when it meets, you understand this don't make no sense, you know, because you're from the streets.
It's a big help.
Absolutely.
I grew up by the Wilson Projects.
Right.
And
how can you help me if you don't know me?
Right.
If you ain't even experienced a fraction of what I've been through, or at least saw it, how can you make a ruling?
Right. It helps. I've been all over the city. I've been all over the country teaching, and I was also chief counsel for a world martial arts organization, and I traveled all over, and I've taught women and children in self-defense and in the law. I've lectured on self-defense and the law, and I've helped studio owners understand what they should do in preparing to open schools. But I've done this university all over, and you had mentioned that you're in Alabama. I go to Alabama every year. That's where our master's clinic is, and I love it when I travel. But everyone you meet can teach you something you don't know for free.
Absolutely.
All you have to do is be nice to them.
How about that? I like that. And on that note, tell my audience how can they get in touch with you or follow you, and most importantly, what button to push on the 16th of May.
Well, on the 16th of May, 33, that's me. Melchiorre is 33. I am Judge Vincent Melchiorre. I'm at the bottom of the second row. My website is judgemelchiorre.com, and I'm on Facebook as well. My kids had to help me get that started because I'm a little bit older. And you can learn all about me. You can learn what I do in the community. You can learn how I am as a judge, and that I am fair. Everyone in my room gets treated with dignity and respect. It doesn't matter if I have to put you in prison or not, you still deserve the dignity and respect of someone who's supposed to be judging what you do or do not do. And that's the best gift I've gotten from my parents, is how to treat everyone the same, no matter what the outcome is. And I really believe in that. So number 33, that's me. Thank you so much.
And there you have it. I'm Tracey L. Fisher, every entry point of view. Thank you.